Hello, my name is Eddie Landeros. I'm with the MSJC Talon News, and today we are joined by Mayo, our chemistry instructor at MSJC, and we're going to talk a little bit about Hispanic Latino culture, as well as HOPE and STEM Club. So without further ado, let's introduce Mayo. How are you doing, Ana?
Hello, hi, doing fine, thank you.
Good. So let's open up with starting about your history, your background. You're originally from Peru?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm from Lima, Peru.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about growing up in Peru and how you became to be a chemistry instructor?
Well, I live in Peru until I was 19 years old, so I did my elementary, high school in Peru. It's different. It's very different. I had been a high school teacher here too, so I know that that's very different. I came to the U.S. when I was 19 years old. And then I didn't know the language, so I spent about 5 years learning, taking ESL classes and working at the same time. 5 years later, at ASU, Arizona State, and I started, I didn't know exactly what to study. I kind of knew I would go for sciences. I started as a chemical engineer major and later on moved to chemistry. My roots grew in chemistry and graduated from there. So that's how.
It was very interesting just to see the difference, as you were talking about, with the difference between being educated in Peru versus being educated here in the United States. Could you talk a little bit about how you saw the difference between Hispanics or Latinos in the US versus Peru?
In what education, like
In
high
education.
school education? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I believe it has changed a little now in Peru, but back in my time, in the 70s and 80s, when I was in elementary and high school, you can figure out my age now. We were into in a system. Everybody took elementary school, public elementary school. Everybody's mixed there. And then by the time you're finished the 6th grade elementary school, you take a lot of exams. Like I believe they were like um, like a standard exams, like the standard exams that we take here in the schools. Then according to your grade, you're separated. So I have a cousin that went to humanities because he was good in writing. So that was a humanities high school. I have another cousin that went to do cosmetology because he didn't have good grades, and so she was put there, and I was put into math and science high school. So I took like 3 years of chemistry, more physics and things like that. So it wasn't by choice. So I did not have I didn't read the books that my cousin read because he was more into humanities. My cousin, she learned an instrument when she was she has like an art. So she learned to play too, and besides her background, she knew how. I mean, she finished high school knowing how to. She opened a salon and things like that. So I didn't have certain stuff, and they didn't have certain stuff. So it was very different. You're told where you should go. So that was my experience, and which is very different as it is, than here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and we do have a lot of freedoms here to do what we want, and
yes,
it's it's just interesting, very interesting to hear your story because there's certain things that like maybe you didn't even like chemistry or know what chemistry was, but yet you were still forced to go in there.
yes.
So that's very interesting. Now, since this was kind of forced upon you for chemistry, how did you learn to like it or appreciate it as a career?
Well, I did have choice different. Everything was math, physics, sciences. So I did have I took many classes, and then I think it was mainly one of my instructors, that my chemistry instructors, that was very good at motivating us, and she was very excited, when we did labs, and sometimes we didn't have enough resources to do, and she figured out how to do it. And my background was I was a low economic background, so I remember I stayed in the library at school so I can finish up my work, and she didn't mind being there sometimes with me. So it was very that was that's I guess that's what I like chemistry, maybe because of her, because of the teacher. Her name was Simona. So
That's really awesome to hear that, that you had a teacher that was so caring. And I know that I have had teachers like that where it's just anything, that's why I became a teacher, was to help educate and promote that growth and learning. So
yes.
that's really nice to hear. So as far as moving from Peru to the United States, did you face any prejudice or racism in the schools or in education when you came to the States?
I came to Hawaii, which is very different. It's a place where I when I was very young, I looked Hawaiian, so it was I fit right in. Although I didn't speak the language, I did go to school to take ESL classes, and there it was a very laid back society. I love that, and it was perfect for me, I think, to learn English in Hawaii, and it's so beautiful too. So it was wonderful. Then I moved to the mainland, to Arizona, and to go to school, and I guess that's when it was a less diverse place. So yes, definitely that's when I can tell. Um, I when I went to Arizona State, I remember I liked to run, and I started running around our neighborhoods, and I can see just people looking at me like suspicious. So I can feel it in my gut. So I started, running just at school. So on the track. So I don't have to feel that, I mean, it's been all the way until, I was an adjunct. I've been an adjunct for many years, and, all the way I have a PhD in chemistry, and I teach chemistry at community college. And one day I forgot, I mean, I'm just telling you from the very beginning now to the end, right? I forgot my my USB drive because I taught at the class. I just forgot. I'm an adjunct. I carry everything in my USB drive. So very important. I went back to see if I can get it, if the room was empty, and there was a professor there. And they were talking in the back with the students. It wasn't like a formal lecture. So I kind of walk in to get it, and so he turned around, and I explained, I'm sorry, I just forgot my USB drive here. And he says, who are you? I said, I'm the instructor. I was just here before you. Sorry about that. Sorry for interrupting or anything. He says, you don't look. He told me that I do not look like an instructor. So, and that was in front of his class.
Wow.
In that moment, yeah. So you don't look like an instructor. What are you doing here? I just took my USB drive and left because I didn't want to say anything.
Wow.
So yeah, it just, of course, I have lots of stories to tell. It's like that doesn't define me.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel as far as becoming an educator or a teacher? Did that push you more towards education because of remarks like that?
Yeah, I do know that as taking classes also myself at ASU, I was a second English as a second language student. I went with my dictionary to help myself. Went to office hours, and instructors just sometimes didn't believe that I could make it. He always say, you can drop it. You can drop the class, So I feel like the expectations to students of color sometimes is pretty low. And that's wrong, because many of us can do it. So I feel like I owe to my students to tell them that they can do it too.
Very, very powerful. Yeah, and I would definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of support in the States or when you were at ASU did you have?
I think other peers, as I mentioned, I started as an engineer major, and back in the time at ASU, there was this woman engineer club, because there's not too many women engineers. So I used to go there. It was a little room. There was coffee, and there was little cabbies where you can put your backpack or textbooks there, so you can go back to that place. And I met lots of other girls that they became my friends, and they took classes with me too. And I guess I felt a sense of community at that school because of that club. So I think it helped. Even though when I left my engineering, I left engineering to do chemistry, but I still went back because of the friends that I have there, and I was still welcome. So I think that was very powerful for me as an undergraduate. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do agree with that, with peers being a great opportunity to build a community as well as build on your education. Right now, with the Talon or just our school classes in general, we have the ability to be online at all times, and that's the benefit, is that you can just share information and say, hey, I need help with this. And to me, that's been a real blessing, because I would just be alone if we didn't have these instant chat rooms. And even at school in the physical spaces, sometimes it could be hard to approach people. Let's talk more about peers and clubs, because you're involved with the HOPE in STEM Club. Mm-hmm. So what do you do for the HOPE in STEM Club?
I am a co-advisor. So as a co-advisor, I do have duties to, and I enjoy participating in the meetings, being part of the creative juices about how to create event, how to come up with events, fun stuff like Netflix party, and mainly is to be there for the students. Create that stability that are always there.
And how did you come to be a part of the HOPE in STEM Club? What was the mission for HOPE in STEM?
For HOPE in STEM is well, it's open to all the students, and it is a club / honor society. So that was also for the students who want to excel, that are taking STEM classes like physics, math, chemistry, biology. So that's a requirement for them, and they just want to excel. Do more than the average, and they are requirements that they follow. They have to keep up certain GPA, although it's like I said, it's for everybody. So even if you don't have the GPA required, you maybe you go a little bit lower, you can still persevere and continue. So the values within the HOPE in STEM are high standards, perseverance, go over obstacles. I guess that's the H, honors, obstacles, perseverance. So yeah, it has very high values, and obviously I agree with them.
That's good. And how were you approached? Were you approached by Mahak in forming the club?
Yes, actually, I started with trying to form Women in STEM first club, which it's forming right now.
Let's speak a little bit about women in STEM, because
Mhm.
I think it's very important for women in this career field. So why did you feel the need that women STEM needed to be started? Did you feel like it's
Yes.
underrepresented?
Yes. They have been, I have read, I mean, in a STEM, there is a very low, is although women are increasing, there is a minority group, the color women are not represented in STEM as right now. And I was thinking about women in STEM just because of my own experience about that engineer club that I belonged once, that it was very important for me. So I thought we should start something like that here. Of course, we don't have a physical place right now where we can actually, leave our backpacks and go on to our classes where we can meet other girls. But eventually, we're hoping to have something like that in Women in STEM. But right now, our mission is mainly motivate girls, empower girls. Although is welcome to every student that would like to participate, and we talk about issues, inequalities that are going on in academia, in classes. Um, Issues that we might feel that we need to talk about as women, as students. So that's the idea for Women in STEM Club.
That's really great, and I'm glad to hear that anybody could join as well, because I think this is an all-inclusive fight
Yes.
that we should be pushing for. Very interesting. And so, how do you communicate with Hope in STEM? Is it email, Canvas?
Yes, we do. Well, we have different ways of communicating right now. We have a Canvas shell where we communicate when we put storage all our documents. We do by email. We also have a Teams, Microsoft Teams. So there's a phone. We use the phone to talk to each other or to text each other. We also have our regular meetings. So those are the forms of communication.
Perfect. And what days do you meet for the club?
We meet on Thursdays, 5 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
Weekly.
And that's on Zoom?
That's on Zoom, yes.
Okay, perfect. And I thank you for joining me. I just want to ask, is there anything or any advice that you would like to give students for pursuing their educational goals, especially those that are underrepresented?
Yes. I guess as an instructor, from my personal experience, and as an instructor, the idea that I put it, I think I did go through many obstacles. I had 2 children when I was going to school too. And I was, I have many obstacles, different types, but I knew that if I've, put my education first before my part-time jobs or anything, I knew that it was going to change. And I think it did. It did change. I didn't have to work 3 part-time jobs anymore to make, pay the bills, because, my chemistry classes were before anything else. Anything else could wait. So I think if you have to put your priorities right to make it, because it is hard. It's not easy. Absolutely, it's not easy. And I knew that I needed to have certain GPA when I finished because I want to go to graduate school. So that was before anything else. I finished with a 3.4 GPA in an undergraduate, and it was enough for me to, open the doors into a grad school. And so I think if you have to have your priorities right, paying the bills sometimes can wait. That was my experience. That's why I make it. Yes.
Very powerful. Thank you so much, Anna Mayo, for joining us. Anna Mayo from MSJC Chemistry Department, and Eddie Landeros, MSJC Talon News. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'll see you. Bye-bye.